Hello everyone, Serge, welcome back to another video. I know that this is not what you're used to seeing, but I'm going to do a pack making tutorial today. Because I see a lot of pack making tutorials, and most of them are teaching people how to make swords that maybe aren't so well. So I'm going to be trying to teach like nice clean textures. So, yeah. Okay, so to start out, we're going to be doing a 16x pack. I am on Gimp right now. The reason I chose Gimp is because one, it's the only thing I've used before. I have used Paint briefly. I think Gimp is the most efficient. It's supported on Mac and Windows, so that's nice. Everyone gets supported there. With Paint, it's only Windows. So yeah. You do this by like File, New, 16x by 16x, okay, and then boom. So once you pull this up, you're going to need to do the shape. There are many different shapes that you can go with. My favorite shape probably looks something like, I would say this. It's like the pommel goes around there, and then I go up 3 pixels with the handle. I go like 1 pixel, 1, 2, 3 high, and then I cut it in, go like that. And then yeah, with 16x, you can't like, you kind of need to swap out like how original you are for how like good the pack looks. And now for the blade. Most people like their blades on like the shorter side of things compared to a blade that would look like that. So I'm gonna be going with a short sword pack today, just because I know that most people like that. I think that's a pretty nice length for a blade. And now we got the palette. What I like to do, there are many ways to do this, is I go to image, duplicate. I take out the lasso tool up here, and then I just make a very like chunky outline around the sword, and then I do Control X, deleting the sword. And now for a palette. It's all about like what type of theme you're going for here. So normally just grab a color that's like easy to change. You'll see what I mean later. So like blue is one of the easiest ones to colorize, or what I mean is it doesn't get messed up with hue. So you want to take one, like a color that you like, place it, select it with the magic wand tool, type in Control C, Control V, drag it over, go colors, brightness and contrast. Turn the brightness down pretty significantly. I think that is good. You want a ton of contrast. So now that leads us to this. Now you want to select both pixels, and you can select both by switching to like, instead of this thing over here, you move it to there, and then that selects both. So you want to go colors, colorizer. Again, many ways to do this. Color. And basically you just kind of play with this until you find something that looks nice. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the original one, but I'll use that. Another way to do this, go hue and chroma. Hue, mess around with the hue. Colors, hue and saturation. Mess around with the hue. It looks way better in hue and saturation just because it like saturates it, which makes it look way better. So, and then you want to go with the dropper tool, select both of the colors that you just picked out, and then go select your whole entire blade. And now this is where the main process of shading takes place. The gradient. Everything with the gradient is so big. You gotta get the gradient right. I mean, default, like, sometimes you won't need a gradient, but almost all the time you will, or it'll just look nicer if you have one. There are 3 main types of gradients that you're going to see. Most of the other ones are like mixes. So 1, a standard side-to-side gradient. Some people like to do it like closer to like there, which doesn't leave them, I don't know. Try doing it so like the bright part is like there. It looks better. Another gradient that you're gonna see a lot is gonna be top to bottom like that, where the bottom is like lighter, and then the last one is like that, where the bottom is darker. Most people like that, so I'm gonna go with that. Also, if you do bottom to top or top to bottom, you get a lot more options. So now pretty much always what you're going to want to do is select the outline. And one of the most cardinal rules of pack making is for everything, the outline should be darker, unless you're going for unless you have a really good reason. But like, the outline should almost always be darker. So it doesn't need to be like that much darker. Just kind of like that looks nice, in my opinion. I don't know how much of you guys have seen my 50 subscriber texture pack, but what I did on there was I went like this: colors, brightness, and contrast. So you could go brightness and contrast, or you could go to curves. Curves from pack makers that I've seen, it's one of the most like underused options like ever, and this kind of creates the blade of my 50 subscriber texture pack, but I'm not going to use that right now because so brightness or contrast or curves. From what I can tell, curves is better if you want something to be lighter, but brightness and contrast is better for darker. So I'm going to take this, and then actually what I'm going to do is only like not select all the way to the top. And you gotta remember to keep the second thing on, which allows you to like do everything, select multiple things. Now I'm gonna go brightness. I'm gonna move it down, but not that much. So most people like swords like this, where it's like, you know, the center line is darker. And now this right here, what I'm about to do is called shading. You can do this multiple different ways, but what I'm going to do is select the side pixels plus that part, go layers, new layer, okay. Once you have a new layer, you want to take this, put it on white, and fill all of this in with white. You could leave it like that, but literally look at this, it's just disgusting. You're not going to want to do that. I mean, in very few cases this will work, but like, just no. You want to take the opacity, move it down a bit, take the brush size, put it on like 3 or something. It shouldn't be on 1. Sometimes it can be on 1 if you want like precise shading. And then you just want to kind of like fade off the edges, if that makes sense. So like that is what I did. And then you could leave it like that, or you could go here. And then you go to mode, and then you just have so much options from here. The most commonly used one is going to be overlay, and basically what it does is it just makes it like not white, but just like a bright, like whatever color your sword is, so like blue, red, you know. And then this looks nice, and then you can kind of play around with this, like the opacity bar of the layer, until you find something that looks good. I think that this looks nice, especially because I'm going to add more shading. It's just like clean. So you want to right click the layer, hit merge visible layers, yes, you want to merge them, and boom, we have a nice little blade. Again, most people like the bottom side of the sword to be darker, so something that you can do is like select these pixels. You can like change how many pixels you want selected. I'll just select these ones, go brightness and contrast. And then you don't want to move it down too much, but sometimes you can just move it down like a tiny bit, and then you have something like that, which like it's barely noticeable, but in game it looks really nice. Or I mean, technically if you wanted to, you could just go like that, but like again, generally you don't want to move it down too much, so it's like, you know, it's like kind of there, but at the same time it's not. Or you could like basically just select certain areas, mess around with like how bright things should be, I guess, if that makes sense, until you find something that like looks nice. You can go like this, make this like darker maybe, I don't know. Just something I like to do is like just like pretty much just mess around until you find something that like is good. Like select all the way up here, Command C, Command V, maybe put something like that down there. And that looks pretty nice. By the way, if you're gonna zoom, hit Control. I'm actually not too fond of that. I'll keep that there. pack making is mainly about like experimentation. Once you learn the tools, it's gonna be really easy. I actually think that this blade looks pretty nice. So I'm gonna keep that. And now I'm gonna go to the handle. I really like black handles, so what I like to do is select not exactly black, but like pretty close to black, and then more of like a gray color thing. Select these things right here. G for gradient. And then you head like towards the top, and then you can just play around until you find something that looks good. Some people like side to side like that. I almost never use that, but some people like it. My favorite gradient style is like that. So now once we have that, same drill with the blade, but like less, because again, most people don't really care about the handle as much. It's just looked at less. So you kind of want to select everything like this, brightness and contrast. Move the brightness down, maybe all the way sometimes. I actually don't think that this is dark enough yet, at least for my liking. So I might move that down more. And then I think that right there looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna select all this. Go like that. Gradient again. And I can again experiment till I find something that looks nice. Which I think this will look nice once I outline it. So I'm gonna put this all the way down just like I did, and then down a bit more just like I did, and then boom, you can like play around with this. What I might actually do is take all this brightness and contrast, make it like darker, or just like colorize it more towards black. I think that is nice. Also, yeah, I think that looks good for my personal liking. Something I've seen a lot is people selecting a pixel on the sword. A quick tip: if you are gonna use a pixel in your sword, I wouldn't use like the outline, because the outline isn't an accurate description of what the sword looks like, if that makes sense. Because the outline is supposed to be darker. I wouldn't select like any part of the shading, because the shading is supposed to be lighter. I would select something that's not shaded, not outlined. So like this. This thing is supposed to be darker. So, and sort of like this, I would just select that. Or you could take something from your palette, but yeah. And then what some people like to do is just stick that right there. I personally don't like that, so. And now for the pommel. The pommel is this thing, by the way, so. I'm gonna select both of my things here. Also, quick tip. What some people like to do is make their palette way longer, like that. I did that with Command C and Command V. Select everything and then go G, gradient, and then that gives you more colors, basically. So some people like to do that, but I don't know. I like the clean, simple ones. And then you want to select your pommel, hit G, and then you could drag that down, but as I said earlier, you want it to be like darker, so I'll do this thing, select that color, and maybe that color, hold G again, drag that, maybe that's not dark enough for me. I will select a part of an outline to re-outline something, and then one of the lighter parts of my like dark outline. So I have two dark ones, so I'm going to drag that down again. For the pommel, I would use like a darker, lighter part, just because you're trying to get an outline for the pommel. So, and then what I can do is stick that in there, and then that looks pretty nice, pretty clean. What some people like to do is make their pommel like black, I guess, like that, but I'm gonna leave it on that because I think it looks better. And then some last things that you should do before you export your pack is like contrast is a really great thing. It's one of the best things in pack making. It basically just makes your pack look like way better. Also, quick tip, threshold, this thing, it basically allows you to select more that's like the same color. And it's really overpowered for like if you want to select like a whole entire blade at a time and you're too lazy to select every individual pixel. This becomes really great on like high resolution packs where you don't want to select like a ton of different pixels from one area. And then go colors, brightness, and contrast. I'm just gonna play around with my contrast. Like, see, that looks bad, but then like that also looks horrendous. But something in between looks nice. I think 40-30 contrast looks really nice. And then one last thing I'm gonna do is just look for a different palette in case I want it. That actually looks quite nice, but I don't know if we'll use that. And then you can make it like lighter or darker. It's really all up to you. And then curves, basically moving the top thing up here makes the lighter part like lighter, and then like bottom thing makes it like darker. I might mess around with curves before I mess around with the contrast. So I'll make the lighter parts lighter, and then again, most people like the bottom of the sword to be darker. So what I'm gonna do is do that using curves, and then that looks good. And I'll mess around with the contrast, not to as much of the extent, but just enough so it still looks nice. So yeah, that's our sword basically. If you ever want a selection back, try undo Z. Undo Y is another common one, or sorry, Control Z, Control Y, because basically just what it does is it gets you back, like it unselects things. And now I'm just gonna mess around with my hue, and I'm gonna teach a bit of a lesson right now. Like for example, this. Let's say you want this, but this looks horrendous and you don't like it. How do you fix it? You select these two pixels, like the pixels that look bad. Colors, Colorizer. If it was like a actual, like if this was your sword all along, or if you wanted this back, what you would do is go in here, select that color, hit the arrow, brings it into your like hotbar essentially. You go like that, you put that like that, and then you drag it just until you find something that looks nice. Like I think that this looks nice. If I was to do sort of like that, but I still like my like blue shade thing I had going. So I'm just gonna keep that like that. If you want to say make the sword longer or shorter, you could, for shortness, you just take the tip, Command C, Command V, move it down a bit, and oh gosh, my occupancy was not up. And you can like move it down, and then we got a pretty nice short sword going, like a really short one. And then if you want it longer, select more of the handle, or more of the blade, if that makes sense. So like that, and now maybe not select the top yet, but like save the top, because you are gonna need the top of the sword later. So like maybe just chuck it over there, you know, you don't need it anymore. And now what you're gonna want to do is select like the mid section of your sword, I guess. Command C, Command V, and basically just like lift it until you want it to stop. Like for me, probably there. And now you want to take the top again, and Command C, Command V. You just kind of stick that on there, and then you can erase the top with the eraser tool. And then you might just need to like clean it up a bit, I guess. Maybe like regradient the center line, because it just looks like messy right now. And I can do that by finding like my darkest pixel, which is that, and my lightest pixel in the center line. Go like that. select the center line or whatever I'm trying to like recolor. And now I know that the darker, like it's gonna be like darker there. So then I can recolor it basically, and then you're just kind of gonna want to do that with everything else if you want to make a sword longer or a texture like stretched. But generally you're not gonna make a texture like stretched, because normally you can decide on a shape first, and normally people decide that their sword is not short enough, not long enough. So it's gonna be kind of uncommon that you like see that going. And then I also do the same thing on here just to demonstrate it. Lightest pixels near the middle, because that was like near the top on the short one. We select this gradient, bring it up there. Maybe I decide I want more of a highlight towards the top, so I bring the gradient down a bit early. And then I just completely cleaned up the messy sword into this. And I'll show it to you in game, but I'm gonna go with my preferred version of the short one, like without any edits done to it, which was this. If you want to export, it's File, Export As, diamond underscore is the base pack, which is basically the pack that you export your template into, which in this case is a pack called Not My Fault by Ropes. Generally you should put your sword into like a pack that you don't really like. I don't know why I picked this pack as my base pack. It's just actually one of my favorite packs, and I have like 100 packs in my pack folder right now. So pack world right now, texture pack world. And as you can see, here's the sword. It's really like clean and nice, like in game. So yeah, it's everything that we just did in game, all laid out in front of you. Here's the other swords of this pack. I don't know. Oh, so yeah, basically here it is. Here's it when you block, when you swing, PvP with it, block hit. Just ton of other stuff. I might make the armor in this pack's nice, but I might make the armor in another video if it's requested or if people want it. So keep an eye out for that video. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this video. And if this video gets 4 likes, I'll make it into a pack. Sorry, I sound dead in this voiceover, but yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. Yeah, bye.